hello.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to HomeBrew Live. You know, we're in our PinTech Live slot, but this is one of our HomeBrew Live episodes. This is episode 3, and we have Thomas from CobraPin with us to tell us all about this pinball controller. We got to see it in action at Pinball Expo this year, right, with the Dukes of Hazzard pin.
Yeah,
has the pinball
there's a few
controller
other
on
ones
it
too. Yeah,
and that one won best homebrew of Expo last week. So congrats, Jake Danzig. I already saw that you shared this live stream in the Strictly Custom Pinball group on Facebook. It's an awesome group. If you guys aren't in it already, join it. It's awesome. So anyways, thanks for joining us, Thomas.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
for sure.
Emoto, I have a question.
Hi, Kyle.
Actually, first off, do all of our voices sound okay? Are we mixed well, or is this kind of insane? We had some audio problems, mostly on my end, but I just want someone in the chat to say, y'all sound real good, before I go too far into this.
How do we sound, everybody in the chat? Thanks for joining us today.
See, no one can hear. Kyle is low.
No, I just boosted you.
Everyone's saying that I am quiet. I am tiny, even.
Oh, wait. You are tiny. This is true.
See, but now now someone says that sounds great, so I don't believe any of you guys. Well, you can figure it out here, right?
Well,
Emoto?
Because I'm adjusting as we go, so.
Oh, you know what? Hold on. You know what? I actually turned down the gain on the mic pack a little bit, so I just boosted it up one knob, so hopefully it sounds pretty good.
One knob to rule them all.
Yeah.
Take the pre-gain to 11. Yeah, 11.
Our gains go up to 12, so 11 is sissy stuff. Emoto, what were the first 2 episodes of the homebrew show that Crystal did? Do you remember?
Right. So this was originally Crystal's show. She's working on her homebrew pinball machine. But our first episodes we did, the very first one was with Ryan McQuaid with Sonic Spinball. That was an awesome way to start this kind of new series. And then the second one we did it with Aaron Davis from Fast Pinball.
All right.
And learned all about the Fast Pinball system. So
cool. Now we're going to learn all about the CobraPin Pinball Controller.
Yeah.
Thomas, thank you for joining us. Let's get into the actual person we're here to see, not us jibber-jabbering. How did you enter this crazy world of pinball, let alone making pinball controllers, hardware?
Yeah. So I mean, I entered into pinball probably the same way a lot of people did, playing in an arcade, and then later on, we had a pinball machine that my roommate brought into our house in college, and it needed work, so I started working on it and fixed it up. And then, whatever, 15 years later of fixing pinball machines, I decided, hey, maybe I should make my own game. I like all these games, but I kind of want to mix everything together myself. And I still haven't actually done that, by the way, because I got distracted. Not really distracted, but I decided, the first thing that I need to do, since I'm an electrical engineer, is work on some electronics, because I was using some controllers that were available, and mainly Open Pinball Project, and that was working well for my purposes. But then a friend of mine, Adrian, he was also working on a custom joust, a Williams joust, the head-to-head game, and he said, "Oh, should I use the same thing you're using?" I was like, "Well, no, probably not, because it's a little too tinkery for you, and I think you need a more complete solution." And so I recommended another one for him, because CobraPin wasn't done yet. And then I realized, kind of with him in mind, that there was kind of a gap in the market for a very low cost all-in-one solution to help people get into the hobby. So that's when I started working on CobraPin and did a Kickstarter in 2021, I guess, and it was successful. So that's what I've been doing since.
All right. Do you remember the game that your roommate brought home in college?
Yeah, it was a ballet flip-flop.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a great game. Okay, so were you involved in any sort of local pinball community, or was it just something that you enjoyed when you were in college, and then suddenly this project arose, or?
Yeah, I mean, I just kept buying and fixing and selling pinball machines. I've never really been into tournaments. Just play with family and friends. But I do go to the pinball shows because, man, you can play a whole lot of games at pinball shows.
Yeah.
So I love that. So I typically go to the Golden State Pinball Festival and Pin-A-Go-Go in Dixon,
Lodi?
California.
Dixon,
Lodi and
Dixon and Lodi.
Yeah.
Nice.
Did you have you ever been to California Extreme before in Santa Clara?
Yeah, I actually haven't. People keep telling me I got to go though.
No, you
Yeah.
absolutely have to.
The collection they bring out there is just absolutely amazing. You see games that you will not see in other places.
It's pretty special. So next year. But anyways, let's keep talking about you. Okay, so you funded a Kickstarter, and what was the premise of the Kickstarter? Was it like we need to come up with a new kind of a controller? I want to build a controller for all of you, so let's try to make this happen. What was the antithesis of that?
Basically, I had purchased this populated playfield, and I was just using it as the target for my electronic development. So I had developed a number of prototypes, and I had something workable. The game was Tag Team, and I had something workable, and I was able to show it in the Kickstarter. And basically, the idea was the way to get costs down for circuit boards is to buy multiples. So I was really hoping that I could sell 6 boards. And that was kind of my goal. It's like I think I can probably sell 6, and there was more than that. It was in the Kickstarter. So people really seemed to like the idea and join me, and I really appreciated that because nobody knows me. So.
Was this something born out of Pinside, or
What's that?
Yeah, that's nuts. You had like 60 boards that people bought through the Kickstarter.
Yeah, I think it was actually closer to 75. Yeah.
Oh
Wow.
my gosh.
Sold a bunch since then.
From 6 to 75.
Yeah.
Nice.
And was this like born on Pinside? Was that like your primary group of discussion and trying to get people to buy in?
So Pinside, Kickstarter, YouTube, and actually Jake Danzig's Strictly Custom Pinball. A lot of people came in through that, so
Nice.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, so you developed a board. Let's talk about the development. Well, actually, so a teeny bit about your background then. You are an electrical engineer.
Yes.
You make, this is your job that you now are applying to a side passion project, yeah?
Yeah, I'm typically robotic space making control circuit boards, but now it's like, man, I love pinball. Maybe I should make them for that too.
Was that
Yeah.
has that like been your professional career, like post-secondary education, like electronics engineering, or did it start out with something else, or?
No, I've been an electrical engineer my whole professional career.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's such a fascinating world, especially robotics. I'm sure that I could sit here and just like listen to you wide-eyed talking about robotics, but let's try to keep it on pinball.
That's a different show.
That's a different show for me, I suppose. Okay, so how did you go into this with your background in repairing games and kind of knowing the way things have been done, and then also I guess on the other hand, having to address how people who are making things would use the product. What was that like? What was your how did you roll with that?
So, like I mentioned before, I started with Open Pinball Project, and I really did like the kind of philosophy of that one, if you will, and it was really geared toward making it as affordable as possible. And so I've been working with the maker of Open Pinball Project, Hugh, throughout this entire thing, and so that's been a really good relationship. We've exchanged Christmas cards and everything. So, but really the goal was to create something that was a little more ready-made and kind of all in one, because while it's nice for many people to be able to kind of pick and choose a la carte their pinball hardware, in order to get more people in the hobby and lower that barrier, people really kind of need something that's kind of ready to go, and ideally just one or a couple of boards. So that was kind of my idea, was to leverage the firmware from Open Pinball Project and make a hardware solution that was packaged and easier for people to manage. So that was kind of the design goal, and hopefully I accomplished that.
For people who maybe don't know, and for people like me who need a little bit of refreshing again, can we talk about Open Pinball Project? Can we talk about like how the software comes to meet with your hardware a little bit before we dive into like the actual hardware? Is that something you can explain a little, or?
Would you like me to show an image that might help?
Absolutely,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Let's dive into the hardware a little bit. Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Stand by.
Yep. And Adrian DeGroot says works with Mission Pinball Framework.
MPF.
All right. Let's see. So,
Yeah.
CobraPin. All right. So, what is a pinball machine made out of? You got switch inputs, you got coil outputs, and LED lights. So a pinball controller is basically the low-level hardware controller for those three things. And yeah, you can have other things like motors instead of coils, and we can get into all those details, but in general you got switches, lights, and coils, and that's what a pinball controller controls. So the Open Pinball Project is the firmware that runs on the processors that are on the pinball, the CobraPin controller. So, and that talks to this host computer over here, and that host computer is running Linux or Windows or something, and on that host computer you are running something like Mission Pinball Framework, or MPF, and that controls the logic of your game, the sounds and everything, but it really doesn't have the capability for the high speed, low latency, fast control that you need for a pinball machine. So it works in tandem with the pinball controller. So the pinball controller is the one doing the high, like for example, flippers. That's one of the main reasons to have a pinball controller, because when you push the button for a flipper, you want the flipper to actually fire without any delay. And that's really hard to do if you're trying to go through a computer, because computers are not, they have delays through them. But a microcontroller, on the other hand, can respond very, very quickly. So that's kind of the idea behind using both a computer and a pinball controller. And this is how basically all modern systems kind of tackle this. When you go back to the 90s with WPC or something, you would only have a microcontroller. You wouldn't have a computer. But now that we want to do more and more with pinball machines, you host it with a computer, but you still do all the control with a pinball controller. Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was trying to think of a good way to make an analogy versus like what some of the people who might normally watch my repair show might need to hear to be like, well, what's the compute? What does the thinking, right? And it's kind of the answer is both. The computer is feeding instruction to the controller, right? But the controller is still reacting to things coming into it as well.
Right.
Yeah. It's interesting.
So the computer is dealing in generic commands. It's like, I would like you to do this, and then the controller does everything it needs to actually accomplish that. You kind of need both of them thinking.
A question from the chat from Shell Shock says, what is the microcontroller on that board?
It's a STM32. And there's actually two of them there. You can see, I don't know if you can see my mouse here. But there's two STM32s on the board.
So let's go over, let's make use of this awesome graphic you have here. Maybe just like talk about what comes in and what comes out. I'd like to hear, reasonings, or not reasonings, but just like, you told me a little story about why you also added a switch matrix instead of just operating the controller with direct switch inputs and stuff like that. If you want to do a little tour around the board, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. Can you see my mouse at all? Probably
no,
not.
Actually.
Yeah, we
But I
can't.
wonder if
It's okay. It's not that important.
I was like, there might be an annotation thing where you could draw on it with Zoom. If you want to check.
We're not going to get that complicated.
I think we can follow along.
We can probably follow along, yeah.
Yeah, so starting in the upper left there with the two power supplies, so you need both light power and coil power to drive this thing. So the lights are controlled by 5 volts, and the coils are controlled by some higher voltage, somewhere between 24 and 50 volts. It is important. I chose to put connectors on the board because one of the important things when you have multiple supplies is that the returns actually get tied together. So I chose to do that on the board so that people wouldn't forget to do that. Basically the board is a common point. It doesn't really hurt anything if you decide to connect them at the power supplies as well. But I wanted to make sure that people didn't forget that. Then on the board, there's actually power filtering, and in one of the other images that I can show, there's some very large capacitors on the board. So that helps filter the power to provide so that you get reasonable power to your coils. And there's also fusing on the board. This doesn't mean that the board is going to have all of the fusing that you need, but it will get you some of the way there to hopefully protect some of your hardware. And then if we move around to the top of the board there, you have your coil outputs. So there's 24 coil outputs, and there's flyback diodes on the board. So technically, diodes on the coils are not required. If people do choose to have diodes on the coils, they need to make sure that they're the correct polarity. Otherwise, you will burn.
Bad things happen.
That's a driver there. Sorry, what was that, Kyle?
I just said bad things will happen.
Yes, bad things do happen. Yeah. thus the multiple exclamation points on those notes. And then continuing around, the processors themselves have USB-C connectors on them, so that's what actually connects back to the host computer. And those processors are powered by the host computer itself. And then moving down to the bottom, there are five switch connectors, and there is support for direct switches. You can actually have all 5 of those connectors only have direct switches. So that's 38 direct switches. But many machines that people are working on, particularly if they're putting this on an old game, have switch matrices. And that was the case with my tag team. It had a switch matrix, and rather than rewire the entire switch matrix to make it direct inputs, I wanted to be able to support switch matrices. Fortunately, OPP, or Open Pinball Project firmware, already supported that ability, but I just had to make sure that I maintained that functionality with the hardware, because it's a little bit in the details, but when you're trying to protect a switch input, most of the existing protection in normal pinball machines assumes that current is only going to flow one direction. And if you want to be able to switch between a switch matrix and a direct input, it can flow both directions. So I had to come up with a method to protect that. So really, I'm trying to be as configurable as possible based on whatever somebody might have. So another example is that some switch matrices are like a different polarity than others. So I had to support multiple. And then moving further around, I also, some people had asked for a relay output. And while I don't have a relay directly on the board, I have an output that you can hook up one of these very affordable relay boards that are typically made for Arduino or something like that, and you can drive those relay outputs, and you can use those to drive a motor or something like that. And then I have 2 serial LED outputs. So serial LEDs or NeoPixels, WS2812, 2811, and any of those types of lights. Basically, they're RGB LEDs that you can string together in a long chain. Each one of those outputs, there's 2 of them. They support up to 256 LEDs, so 512 for the whole board. And that kind of brings us all the way around. So you can use those LEDs for general illumination, insert lighting, or in the case of my most recent Kickstarter, segment displays. So I actually have segment displays hooked up to that output. Cool. And that's actually the same method that was used in Dukes of Hazzard. Okay. Although they made their own LED segment LEDs for that game, because I didn't have any yet.
Yeah, I was going to ask how those hooked up, but I guess we'll get to that once we get further along in your slideshow.
Yeah.
So just like, I guess, basic questions for me, just to quell my curiosity. So you have those 4 fuses coming in. Is that like, one 5-volt in fuse and then fusing each output of each coil bank?
Yeah. So one is for the 5 volts, and then there's one for each of those 3 connectors that you see on top, those 3 banks. It's one for each of those.
And then
So-
the big filters, are those, you said you were filtering the 50 volts for the coils with those then?
Yeah, and then there's a smaller capacitor in between them that you can just barely see there, for helping out with the 5 volts as well.
Oh, okay, interesting. And what is the actual like footprint of the controller as well?
Yeah. I'm actually probably going to get this wrong. I think it's 7.75 by 4.5 inches
Wow.
or something like that.
It's very compact.
It's like this. I don't know if you can see this here.
Yeah.
But it fits in my hand. So
That's incredible.
That's amazing.
There's a lot of hardware on that board for being such a small thing. All right. Well, you did prepare like a slideshow, you said, yeah?
yeah. So I just have some other slides here.
Yeah. Let's see. This is so fascinating.
So yeah. I mean, I started out with the Cobra controller, and of course, shortly after that, people start saying, "Wouldn't it be nice if we also had this?" And I will bring up Adrian again, especially since he's listening right now. He kept asking for more things, and unfortunately, he was usually reasonable in what he was requesting, so I obliged many times. But same thing from the community. There were requests coming in for improvements, which I really appreciate, and really kind of my goal for the whole product line is to be what people need and nothing more. So I don't want to just add products that I have to maintain that aren't going to be useful for people. So a lot of these are just based on people's requests. So after the CobraPin Pinball Controller, I started working on some other boards based on requests. So there's the original one from the Kickstarter.
Nice.
And then by popular request, I worked on these others. And so the one on the bottom there is called the expansion board. And that starts with an X, not an E, because why not? So this one was really based on people's requests for, hey, I've got this WPC game that I would like to overhaul, but I don't want to switch over to RGB lights. That sounds like too much work. So I just wanted to use the incandescent lamp matrix that's already there. So this board supports the lamp matrix, as well as offering more inputs and coil drivers, because the original CobraPin has 24 coil outputs, and I think something like Star Trek Next Generation has like 28 coils or something like that. So this brings you up to 32 total outputs. So that's kind of where that one came from. And then another request from people was that, hey, I really don't like the switch matrix idea, and 38 direct input isn't going to be enough for me. So what can we do there? And I might want some more coils as well. So same thing with this satellite board, which is on top there. There's an extra 23 inputs, as well as 8 more coil outputs. And I threw in an extra NeoPixel output as well. So again, just trying to expand the capabilities. And you can mix and match these boards in a game. So you can have all 3 of the boards in a game, for example, if you really wanted. Technically, you can put 2 CobraPin controllers in a game if you wanted. So it's kind of up to people based on their needs, and not to confuse people too much, but using something like Mission Pinball Framework, which supports multiple platforms, you can put different manufacturers' hardware in the same game. You can have a CobraPin controller and a fast controller driving the same pinball machine. There's really no limitation there. So if you like one aspect of one and another aspect of the other, you can technically put them together.
That's crazy.
So.
You just inspired someone to make a Frankenstein.
I know.
I know. I can't wait to see it.
How many controllers can we put in one?
Yeah. I am really curious to see if someone would actually build a lamp matrix in this day and age. I'd be curious to see that come to life.
Yeah, I haven't heard of anybody who's building one. Just the people that have a playfield that are tapping into it.
That makes a lot more sense. Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. Not giving away too much fluff, giving away exactly what you need. I don't know. That's neat. Well, what else do we have? You do have, because someone was talking about, or Shell Shock was asking about the LEDs, and they kind of did get an answer, but you'll talk about that now.
I can't see the chat. So.
No, it's okay.
Oh, no, it's okay. He said serial LEDs. Does that mean each LED can be turned on or off individually?
Oh, yeah. Yes, it can. So each one can be addressed and dimmed and color changed and everything.
Dimmed. Nice.
So you got full fade control and everything. That brings me to the lighting products that I have. And so many people were asking when they would buy a board, I like this idea of serial LEDs. What's your solution for just putting an LED under an insert? So this bottom one over here, that's just a simple way to. It's got one LED and a screw hole, and some points that you can solder to, and just build. Put LEDs at each insert. So I call those my RGB insert LEDs or insert sticks. And then along the top here, that's the segment displays that I've been working on for, I think it's been about 2 years now. And not that it was a particularly difficult technical challenge, but a sourcing challenge. So of course I started working on this right around the start of COVID. So finding parts, sources for parts, I could buy parts and get what I needed for my prototyping purposes. That wasn't a problem, but trying to get a solution that I could supply hundreds or thousands of these has been the challenge, but I think I'm there now. So that's why I did the Kickstarter for it this past month, actually. So with the segment displays, basically you can chain them together. I better do this in front of myself.
Oh, cool.
So they just go from one to the next, and they go in a chain, and then you can arrange them kind of like I did here. Let me stop sharing this part.
Okay.
So like I did here on this game. So this is actually 4 displays, 1, 2, 3,
Oh, that's
4.
perfect timing on FinTech Live.
Oh, that's fun.
We got programmed in.
Yes.
So that's 4 different ones. Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is 4 put together, and that 4 to 6 is kind of what I assume that is what most people would want. But then also if you want like match or ball or credit displays, I also have these 2-digit ones, and so that's come in handy actually, because throughout the years let me go back to this screen here. throughout the years, the spacing between the digits has changed. So sometimes if you're putting this into an old machine, the digits don't line up perfectly. If you wanted to use, say, an 8-digit display, but you had only 2 digits that you wanted to look at. Let me go back here. Yeah, so there you go. So that's why I also came up with this 2-digit version. And some games use 2 digits down by the flippers, like Rick and Morty use it. Total Nuclear Annihilation did it. So just wanted to have that option for people. And again, Adrian asked for 2, so Adrian 2.
Adrian, he's
8
he's
seems
like
to make
your
sense.
research and development or your NTI person.
Yeah,
That's
There's,
great.
so we worked
He said
together,
joust.
Yeah. So if you check out his joust, he's got some videos with the displays in it. So, and of course, I mean, I got
Adrian,
t-shirts.
drop a link. Yeah.
Gotta have the T-shirt.
So, gotta have the t-shirts. Why not?
Yeah, and to let everyone know in the chat, I dropped a link to the CobraPin shop on Pinside. Is that the best place to buy from you? Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, check out. You can get the shirts, the boards, the RGB sticks.
Yeah, and if something's out of stock side, ask me about it, because it's also possible that I didn't update it. So.
Awesome.
All right. And I did just have a special thanks to Hugh with Open Pinball Project. We're still actively working together on improvements to the OPP firmware, and he has been an amazing help and just really fun to work with. And then Jan from Mission Pinball Framework, he's got some videos that can really help people if they're wanting to get into custom pinball, Mission Pinball Framework. And so he was the maintainer of MPF for a while. I think he's kind of taken a step back at the moment, but he has also been amazing to work with. And then I have Adrian there as the chief instigator for most of this stuff. And surprisingly, when I announced that I was working on something like this, there were lots of people that were just like, how do I get a board? And I was like, well, all I can do is like maybe give you a beta board, but you probably aren't interested in that, are you? And everybody's like, yeah, let's do it. It's like, oh, so it's not done yet. They're like, yeah, just I'll help you test it. It's like, great, thank you.
Nice. I love it.
So I've really appreciated that support from the community as well. So I think that's basically all I had. We've got some links here, but we can drop them in the chat as necessary. So CobraPin Pinball Make page, there's a lot of helpful information there. If you have a controller, that will help you out get started. Like I mentioned, Jan's YouTube channel is amazing for learning more about MPF and how to control pinball machines. And then Strictly Custom Pinball Facebook group, that's just a fascinating one to scroll through to see everybody's projects that they're working on. Then the MPF documentation, that's also helpful. I've got links to my Kickstarters so you can watch my silly videos. One thing that I did want to ask from people is on the Mission Pinball Framework website, there is a projects page, and you can post your project on there and have a link to the documentation or videos or anything like that, and you can tag in there that you're using which hardware you're using. So CobraPin is one of the hardware options. So my request to people is that if you're working on a game, even if it's not done, post something about it, post it on the MPF projects page that I've linked here, because I want to see what all of you are doing with these things. So
where'd they all end up?
That'd be great. So there's a few on there. Dukes of Hazzard is on there. My tag team is on there, and a number of others. So go ahead, if you haven't already, add it to that page so that people can find it and check it out.
That's awesome.
Goodness, yeah. There's been a few questions in the chat. I think we should address those before we go down a rabbit hole. It looks like Adrian posted a YouTube link. And I kind of want to click on it because it's probably Joust.
Oh, yeah,
but
I'll click on it for you because I just clicked on it on my computer and it looks really awesome.
Okay, so here, pause it really quick though.
Joust.
I want to check some of the things in chat first. I think Shellshock asked something about how many serial LEDs can be addressed, and I think you said it was like 512 overall?
Yeah, so for the main board, it's 256 times 2, so there's 2 different chains, so yeah, 512. And then the satellite board supports another 256.
And then I guess but is each segment of each display considered a LED? So, like
no, so on this one.
Yeah, because you got 14 segments, right, on an alphanumeric display block.
Yeah, so it's 14 segments plus the comma, so 15, and so it takes 5 pixels to drive that, because each pixel has 3 channels. So these are monocolor displays.
Okay.
But you can drive them with an RGB driver. And all of this is kind of handled by MPF. I've done a lot of work to mask this from people so they don't have to worry about it. But basically, each one of these 8-digit displays is the equivalent of 40 pixels.
Okay.
Yeah.
40 out of the 256 per header set.
So for example, you can drive 6 of these off of a single channel.
Got it.
And still have some extra.
That's really neat. And then we did have a question saying that they got in late, but what is involved with programming? That is a rabbit hole you should sit and read about. It will take you years. You'll maybe never fully understand it. It's very special, but it seems like, you know, what I've gathered in my short time, like in learning about people that make pinball machines, is that people are not afraid to share and they want to help. So even if it is extraordinarily daunting, there is a lot of good resources out there willing to help and teach and for you to learn from. But
and also, you know, I'm not the best programmer. I'm a hardware guy, but just to hopefully help people out, I did post at least the current progress of my tag team code. So it's actually on my GitHub page. So people are looking for examples. That's probably not the first place I'd go, because if this is your first introduction to it and you walk into an entire game, it's going to be super scary. But if you're already like kind of moving along, you're like, how did other people do this? You can check that out as well. And I know a number of other people have posted their entire game code. So
that's impressive. And I know I did see one that made me chuckle earlier when you were talking about the controller board. Is like, I do not think there are very many through-hole components on this board. Sorry, it's not the 80s anymore. So,
so that's true. However, I got that feedback early on, and you're right. I mean, this is how I save space and save cost. Is most things are surface mount. However, like the processor boards are actually replaceable. You can unplug the processor board and buy a new one, either from me, or you can actually get this type of processor off of Amazon. And then like the transistors, if you blow a transistor, you don't actually have to completely desolder the transistor that's on here. You can cut the leads to disconnect them, and it's difficult to see from the front, but on the back, I actually do have through-hole mounting locations for the transistors.
That's awesome.
So while it comes with surface mount, you can replace it with a through-hole, and then it would be a little bit easier for like a field repair or something like that.
Yeah. When you inevitably blow up a driver, which is not your fault. It's definitely the coder's fault. But we all know that there are outlying factors that cause all sorts of goofy things to happen. So that's neat, though. That's a cool design. I like that. As someone who is old school, it is nice to be able to repair those things quickly like that.
Well, it's not just old school, right? It's you're at a show and you're like leaning into your machine trying to fix something real quick. So it's a lot easier to do that with a through hole. But as far as making it mass producible and affordable these days, it kind of needs to be surface mount.
Mm-hmm. Hey, like I tell everyone all the time, we are going to learn to have to do that someday. I am starting to learn it now. It's fun, it's stressful. My hands shake too much because I drink too much coffee, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
That's great. So, okay, now that we've kind of gone through some of the chat things, like I do want to see Adrian's joust in action. Is that link? Oh yeah, you've got it. Emoto was working on that in the background there.
I actually have it. It's gonna cover Thomas's face for a second.
Yeah, and everyone can see all my Duran recommendations because.
Oh yeah, because it's your profile.
Steve and I are sitting there listening
that looks
to Duran
awesome.
Duran all the time.
And the link is in the chat if you guys want to watch the full video later and higher quality. But those are down at the bottom left are the segment displays, which is cool. That's like the prettiest joust I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Adrian, when are you bringing this to a show?
Oh, that's really cool. The display I like the sweep display effect. That's really neat, and especially being able to spell words too, right? Communicating to the player what's going on.
Yeah.
So Shell Shock asks, why is the backboard on the apron? Joust is like this. It doesn't have a head. It's like a 2-player pinball machine. I'll link to a photo of it. Something.
Interesting. That's really cool. I love.
Oh yeah. Oh here, look, it's another Adrian video. How perfect. Oh, sorry, commercial.
Hey everyone.
Now we can see what type of stuff Kyle looks at in his free time. OfferPad. Are you trying to sell your
No, I'm
home,
not even
Kyle?
signed in. This is not even signed in. What are you talking about?
Okay, so that's what the joust looks like. It's a head-to-head 2-player battle, and then the playfields kind of makes this slight pyramid, so you have it incline or decline on both sides, and you just try to score more points and make your competitor drain. So awesome.
So and I guess since Adrian's not in here though, but Thomas.
No, he is.
Well, he's not speaking.
Sure,
I know he's in here. So and then was Adrian's project for Joust like in a reimagining of the game, or was it?
So
he started both ways. So he started trying to make it exactly like the original. As far as the rules go, and then since then he's started to add more things to it. But if there's a joust at a pinball show, you will find him at it for many hours.
Yeah, I know. I always used to sit and fix Wally Pierce's joust. He'd either want me, Chris, or Darren to fix that thing. Every year he'd bring it to the Golden State Show or at Pinagogo. And that's a real nice. Have you been over to Wally's place before? In
I have not.
Vacaville?
No.
Oh man. I gotta hook you guys up.
All right. Sounds good.
Anyways.
Oh, cool. Joel Kaiser, who's in the chat, one of our good friends,
up,
Boys
Joel?
Night Out Custom Pin, is working on his next one, which is a dog-themed cocktail table using the CobraPin controller.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
You post
I sent-
it on that projects page.
Yeah, put it on the projects page. Why isn't it there yet?
Yeah, let's
I'm
fill
still
that
waiting
thing
to
out.
see pictures.
So what?
Digerati, real quick, Kyle asked, for the price of the board, could you have a spare and download the program to a new board and board swap it while you fix the old one?
No, because all of the coding is on a computer that runs with the controller.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
not the board.
Yeah, so you can, I mean, Jake did this with Dukes of Hazzard. He bought a spare board just for the show, so you could just swap it out while you were working on it. And I think he actually ended up selling it to somebody else at the show who had some problems. So I think they were able to get their machine back up and running during Expo.
Yeah, let's. So what?
Yeah.
What other games were running CobraPin at Expo? This might be a small conversation because Emoto and I were the only ones there, but.
I wasn't actually there, so let's see. Now I'm blanking on the.
I know Dukes of Hazzard. Ernie Silverberg was there. His
Yeah.
game was not there, but he has one of the League of Legends custom games and uses.
There were multiple Pokemon games. I think at least one of them had a CobraPin in it. And then, shoot, I can't remember who else told me that they were going to be there.
There were so many custom
yeah.
games at Expo this
Yeah,
year. It
there's a
was the
lot.
biggest turnout I've ever seen. It was beautiful. Cuphead has it, Adrian said.
Yes, Cuphead has it.
Oh, okay.
Was that at Expo?
No, I don't think so.
Didn't see it in any of the videos.
The one on the back wall had a CobraPin. Oh, okay, the Pokemon on the back wall in the custom game, the homebrew section, had CobraPin. And then the other Pokemon where they had all the Pokeballs at the top of the playfield. That one was like at the front of the show. That was
You
an
had to
EM
kind of
explore the floor. So most of the custom games were kind of in a contained area, but then there were a few just kind of floating around and some re-themes, floating around on the show floor. So it was nuts. Next year, Thomas,
Yeah.
you have to go to a pinball show outside of California.
Okay,
on.
I will.
Okay. That's awesome.
So what is so right now you're running the Kickstarter for the segmented displays. Anything else up your
it's
street?
done, right?
It's done, yeah. That closed, yeah.
It just okay. Well,
Just closed.
On
just-
October 21st.
But now we can buy these serial segment displays?
Not until after I deliver starter rewards. So I got to be true to the backers.
yeah.
For sure. For sure.
Is there anything? Well, what else is going on in that brain of yours? Is there any other additions to the system?
More
or are you going to
products
start
in the
finishing your
pipeline.
projects?
I'm not sure about more products just yet. The main thing that I'm trying to work on is trying to get my cabinet here up and running. So this is going to be my test vehicle for new electronics, for new whitewoods that I'm thinking about. Because like I said, I actually haven't made my own custom game because I went down this path and it's taken up all of my free time. So I do want to get back to finishing this. So right now, I don't have any in the pipeline, but the way things get in the pipeline is that I have enough people asking me for the same thing. So put it in the chat.
If you want something, just ask.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the. What were you going to say?
Real quick, from the chat, are your shirts out of stock? Because they're all out of stock on Pinside, and people want the shirts.
All
they
right,
want to rep the Cobra Pin.
I'll get the shirts back in stock on Pinside.
Awesome. Just wait, Jackrabbit.
Do you need this one? Do you want this one?
Yeah.
Exactly?
Yeah.
That's the LE right there.
I've got a deal for you. Let's talk about the
campaign.
tag team project then. So what?
Yeah.
I read the Pinside thread a couple weeks ago, and I saw it was all over the place because I know you were working on the game and then the CobraPin project. But what will you be doing next?
With the tag team itself?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the tag team itself is going to end up in this. So you're looking at the back box right now of this machine. I don't actually have the play field in it yet, but tag team is going to end up in this machine. And I need to convert it over to actually use segment displays because it didn't use segment displays. Before I had a little 7-inch screen that was kind of down in the apron. So I'm going to be converting that over, and I also want to kind of bulletproof the code because I would like to bring it to a show. I actually did bring it to Golden State Pinball Festival, but it was in a very hacky bare plywood state.
Oh, okay. I was like, where was it? Were you in the main room?
No, it was in the other building, and I only had it up one day.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah, it was in the concrete room.
Yeah.
Next to the EMs. Yeah, okay. I remember
no,
seeing.
not next to the EMs. It was the other.
Yeah, the room. Yeah, across the way. The one across the way from the main room. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I do remember seeing that.
Overflow room. Sort of thing.
Yeah, that was a good room. So you've got. So you're gonna bullet. Okay, that's an. Is that fun? Do you enjoy coding? Is that something that you like to do, or?
I've really been enjoying this. So if I'm doing any coding, it has to be controlling something physical. So I don't like working on any web applications or anything like that because I don't get to see things move. Like everything that I do, the result needs to be that it moves.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why I like pinball machines. Yeah, I do enjoy it. Fortunately for bulletproofing code, I have a great 5-year-old code tester.
Yeah.
And he finds the weirdest bugs. It's like,
Aww.
I was not expecting you to play it that way, but okay.
It's great. A good software tester is worth their weight in gold.
Yeah.
Here's a this is a sales pitch sort of question, I guess, but Colin Baxter, someone who likes watching our show a lot, he says basically it's like, what differentiates the CobraPin controller from other things on the market?
Okay. Yeah. So I think the main thing is that it's an all-in-one solution that is affordable and really geared towards use with MPF. So I didn't mention that on all of the switch inputs and the coil outputs, for example, when you're programming something in MPF and say, I want to use such and such a switch, you have to give it a number. That number is actually printed on the board itself. So the number that you're supposed to enter into MPF is printed on the board. So just trying to make that as easy as possible for people. So, I mean, I think it's just like I said earlier, it's just what people need and nothing more. So that's kind of what I'm shooting for.
No, it's fair. Yeah, I mean,
Nice. Yeah, keep it simple.
ease of integration, right?
Yeah.
Especially for people that might not have a background in any of this, to allow them, there's little things to help them
Right.
stumble their way through creating their own little magical game,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and so I think when you start looking at more distributed options, things just kind of add up quickly when you're just getting into it. Like I need a power filter board, I need the processor board, I need driver board, I need a switch board, whatever. That's excellent for a certain type of customer, but for somebody that just wants, like, I just have this play field and I want to get it moving, I kind of have that packaged in an all-in-one solution. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the idea.
A 7-inch by 4-inch
Yeah.
little rectangle of joy.
Yeah.
Shell Shock asks, does the board use any parts that might get hard to find? I mean, I think in this sort of a world of electronics, everything is hard to find
Welcome
at some
to my
point.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in summary, all parts are hard to find, but that's been part of the work that I've been doing over the past 2 years. Is things on the board have been difficult to find, and so I work hard to find alternates for it, and keep it kind of maintained in that respect. And like I mentioned before, that was the difficulty with the segment displays, is getting consistent supply and building the relationships with the suppliers to actually make that happen. I was joking about it earlier, but yeah, that's kind of what I do for a living. So is maintain that supply, given a horrible market right now for electronics.
Yeah.
Kyle knows all about that too.
Yes. It's a giant pain in the butt. Part of my job right now is pretending to be an electronics engineer, and navigating my way through that while literally knowing nothing. Yeah, Adrian said that the color of the segment displays turned out nice. They are nice, a nice crisp white. I like that. Do you have any plans to?
There we go. I got multiple colors here. So red, white, blue, orange, yellow, and green. So on the joust as yellow and blue. One of the really frustrating things about making an LED display is, and I'm sure other people who have done videos have experienced this too, it's really hard to photograph and video LED products.
Yes.
They do not look right on video. Like even right now, it doesn't look right on the screen versus what I see. And it's not just me, because I don't think my Godzilla looks very good on the. No, it looks great in person. So
it's yeah.
No, yeah, it's definitely the cameras, because we run across that issue all the time.
We were just
Flickering in
shooting
the colors. Yeah.
We were just shooting a segment on LED, like pinball LED replacements and stuff like that, and it took Emoto's like $1,000 camera to actually make them look good, because there's nothing else to make them look good. But I can imagine that if you were trying to sell them, you would not put out crap. So I'm trying to see what Emoto's pulling up.
Oh yeah, I was gonna pull up the actual photo, the RGB photo from the Kickstarter.
Oh, from the Kickstarter?
Because it looks really cool.
Anyway, so then what's I guess the page isn't filled out. I wish I was at the computer so I could take a look, but how many games do you have written out there that are using the CobraPin controller that you know of, like actual completed projects or playable projects currently?
I honestly don't have a good number for that. And that's why I was I was asking for people
Requesting people
fill it
yeah,
through.
to put that out there. I mean, people send me messages usually when they first get stuff flipping, and they're like, "Hey, I got it, and I got something working. So thank you so much." So I've got dozens and dozens of those. But as far as completed games that have, say, made it to a show, I don't have that many messages about. But I know, every once in a while, somebody will ask for, they'll buy another product and they'll say, "Hey, I want another one for this other game." It's like, "Oh, so you finished the first one? What is it?" And then I find out about it after the. So, I mean, honestly, I don't have nobody owes me anything to tell me about their game. I just am really interested about it. So
It's always good to see a project finished
And
through.
that's the Mission Pinball projects with Cobra Pin link at the bottom. Okay, I'm resharing that, y'all, so you can put your projects on there.
Yeah, thank
so
you.
we can collect them all.
Oh
no, Borg Dog has sadly not yet installed his Cobra Pin boards in a machine.
Oh.
Just sitting on a Borg Dog. Oh, Fry Guy too, just sitting with Cobra Pin boards. Hasn't put it in a game
Fry
yet.
Guy.
Oh.
That Black Knight needs it, Fry Guy.
Everyone's been so busy this year, and this year is just like flown by so fast. They'll get to it.
I think
We
it's
believe it,
also
though.
really easy to start a project, but it's really hard to cross the finish line with a lot of things, especially when they're so dang complicated, like building a pinball game.
I mean, I think one of the things that I've obviously a finished game is fun to see, and I love seeing people playing a finished game that has Cobra Pin in it. But I also get messages from people who are saying, "Hey, I got this so that I could do this project with my son or with my daughter, and it's been so much fun. Like, thanks for that." So, like, I don't know if they're going to finish, but at least they're having fun working on the project together. So that kind of makes my day when I see that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh, Adrian says that the Middle Earth at the Flipper Room has a Cobra Pin controller in it. Interesting.
Yeah, so there's a Middle Earth 2.0. He changed up the rules and the sounds for that. So that was... Who did that one? I think his handle is That One Dude.
Yeah. That guy's name is Michael, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I know him. Michael's the guy that sold me the DMD for Baywatch that unfortunately was not ended up being good. But he lives like 3-4 blocks away from where I grew up. So that's actually that was a fun trip to go visit him and see his dungeon, because I know he's working on a custom game as well.
So he's been a great tester as well. So he's bought a number of boards, and he was one of the first people to do the lamp matrix because he had a Lethal Weapon that he wanted to get up and running. And so he used the lamp matrix for that.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I'll have to go in and check in on him and see what's going on. That's neat. Emoto, could you read that chat question while I go get a bottle of water?
I know. It's a little. Okay, from Donicus on Twitch said, "Hey, Thomas, with the NeoPixel and host PC and the coil support, have you also made a Redemption arcade machine prototype board? Thinking you have and am excited." Have you thought about that? Or have you made a Redemption arcade board?
No, I have not actually. There was one guy. Gosh, where was he? I think he was in Kentucky somewhere. he was working on, I think it was a slot machine, but it was a pinball topper for a slot machine or something like that. And so it was like a vertical pinball machine on the top of a slot. I can't remember what it was.
Oh,
but,
it's the Williams thing. I remember we had one of those at the Pacific Pinball Museum that Michael and I took out of a box one day.
Oh, really?
Right, yeah, it's the top of a Williams slot machine. I forgot what the slot was called.
Yeah. So he got one of the it was one of the expansion boards, whether expansion or satellite, because it didn't have that much functionality in it. But he used that to control that topper.
Huh. That's really neat.
Yeah, I had never seen that one until he brought it up and was like, yeah, I'm gonna control this. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's a really uncommon, weird thing. I think it was like, it would sit on top of this one slot machine, and there was like one flipper, I think, and it would send the ball up and around on top of like this tombstone-shaped thing, and it would make things turn and spin, and there was a pop bumper in there, and like imagine like a bonsai run playfield on top of a slot machine that I don't think you had any control over as the player. I should ask Mark Guidarelli, because I think he did some of the support, or he did the programming for that when he worked at WMS. But
Oh, really? That's cool. Is it this one right here, Kyle? And then I'll show it. This?
Yes. Yeah, that's it.
Hold on. I know Thomas is like, I can't see it.
Okay, it's a little more complicated than I thought it was, but it's also been like 10.
Yeah, that's so wild.
I mean, I think it was Williams or WMS just trying to use up all of the parts that they had left over when they shut the pinball division down.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. That's smart. That's a funny one.
Whoa. That's
That looks like
ridiculous.
that AI generated stuff.
Yeah, it does. Anyways, well, that's fun. That's neat. You can use it for so many things.
Yeah.
And it's already like, it would be fun. I mean, it would be blasphemous, but if I ever like found another EM that like was the victim of a terrible fire, it would be really fun to try to program it like a simple electromechanical game using a controller like this, right? Like that is a perfect.
Yeah, so there have been a few of those. Those weren't EMs though. They were just the 70s. I know there was a Phoenix did, and
That's cool.
Close Encounters, but they kept the more basic rules for it. And I know there was somebody who did an EM, but I can't remember which one it was. But yeah, I'm sorry for the blaspheming that they did. for anyone offended by that.
Hey, well, as long as all those parts went on to make another game live, it's all fine, right?
Right? Yeah, I think so.
Adrian was asking if the control of magnets was possible.
Oh.
Yeah, so I mean, magnets are just another kind of coil. So yeah, you can do magnets. One thing I forgot, I also support RC servos now. So you can drive RC servos for like a toy or a diverter or something like that. So the board supports up to 8, I believe, and you end up so you sacrifice one of your input pins in order to drive an RC servo. So and also worked on this was with Hue. It now supports basically RGB LEDs with a clock. So what do they call those? Dot stars? I think they're called dot stars. Or AP something 102, APA 102. So basically just another type of RGB LED, but it has an additional control line.
To allow it to what, like to pulse, or like what's the addition?
It's a clock signal.
Okay.
Some people prefer that style of RGB LED. You can get slightly faster update rates and things like that. It's just a little bit less common than the ubiquitous like NeoPixel style.
Got it. Okay. Interesting.
Fry Guy said kind of like SPI versus I2C.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. For anybody that knows the difference between those.
Definitely
One day
not
I'll
me.
come back to this live stream, which you can watch on our archives and YouTube, and then I'll be like, oh, I know exactly what they're talking about now. It's all planting the seeds.
I also work with Fry Guy, so.
That's awesome. So you have a 5-year-old beta tester,
Yeah.
and I feel like that would be a great first custom game. Letting him choose the theme, maybe, and working on it together. What theme do you think you would choose?
Yes.
Oh gosh, do I think he would choose?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a 5-year-old boy, so anything with dinosaurs. So, I mean, that was kind of one of the.
Oh yeah. Has he watched Camp Cretaceous?
No,
The
he
Jurassic
hasn't.
Park series. Check
No.
it out.
I will
on
check
Netflix.
it out. Yeah, he was actually a little
That'd
bit
be a good
bummed
theme.
he was bummed that I got Godzilla instead of Jurassic Park, because he's like, no, I wanted the dinosaur one.
He's a dinosaur, sort of.
Sort of.
He knows the difference, so that's really actually awesome.
Oh man.
Oh, so maybe for his birthday or Christmas. Or
Yeah.
something. Baby Shark. No, 5-year-olds don't like Baby Shark, right?
Yeah, I don't know if we
Yeah.
need any of
He's
that.
more evolved.
Yeah,
He's going
moved,
for
he's
the-
moved past that.
the
that
dinosaur
That was a
teeth.
phase, but he's moved
Oh, yeah,
on
for
since
sure.
then.
Oh man. So the what is it what kind of innovation would you like to see in pinball? In something you would build, is it a physical thing? Is it an electronics thing? Or what would you like to see happen?
That is a really good question. I mean, I would really like to see things. I don't know how to say this. Like, I want them to move a little bit more out of plane, if that makes any sense. So everything's very, very flat. And yeah, we have ramps and everything, but I want to see, like there was one custom pin at Expo that was Trashland. I
Yeah,
think was the name
Trashland.
of it.
That
And
was
it
so
was,
cool.
Oh,
it
yeah.
was just, it was different, right? And I'd like to see more things there. Same thing with lights, indication lights. They're all from the bottom of the playfield. I want them to be more spread out and all over the place. And then different forms of sensing, I think, would be interesting. Rather than having, a target be just a switch that turns on, thinking about like a fighting game or something, and it's like, how hard did you hit that target?
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. Like an old Gottlieb
yeah,
very
very-
target, but
right.
different, right?
Yeah, except not that.
That's one thing I really liked what Keith did with Archer, and then it turned into with Iron Maiden, right? Was the the
Yep.
3-ring target for the bullseye in the back. It's like, you know what I'm talking about? Where you hit the center ramp in Iron Maiden in the back, and it launches the ball against the back plane. There's 3 concentric rings.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
kind of hard to tell, but you can score a bullseye. I think that's really neat, even though it's not something you can necessarily aim for, or like you're rewarded for the randomness of, oh, you did hit the bullseye. But I like that. I like where you're going with that.
And same thing with sensing things like speed. Like Avengers does that with the Infinity Quest does that with the spinning disc. So you actually are rewarded for how fast you can spin that disc or something like that. So, I think of like a racing themed game, and you hit the orbit. Well, how fast did you hit the orbit?
There actually is. There's 2 games that do that.
There's a couple.
The first one was Vector, and then there was a game called Checkpoint by Data East that measured the delta between the first switch and the second switch that it would hit, and it would just come up with like a ridiculous number, right? The ball's definitely not moving 180 miles an hour, but it's fun to hear the guy scream that.
Checkpoint was the one that I was thinking of, and I just like to, I don't know, I'm an electronics guy, so I like things that sense. Improve sensing more. So I don't know.
Definitely. Oh, that's good. I like those answers. That's fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What's the cop chasing game from the early 90s? Probably High Speed or Getaway?
Police Force? Oh, Getaways probably, yeah.
Yeah. No one remembers Police Force. That game was a nightmare.
What? There's cops in it?
It's terrible.
Sure,
animal cops.
Yeah. An anthropomorphic nightmare is what I call that game. But, the Getaway had that cool magnet, that accelerator thing. That's really incredible. A neat piece of technology. It's really funny though when one of those optos in that supercharger magnet thing goes out, how pitifully slow the thing works. Like it really needs those magnets to go 1, 2, 3, and if it goes 1, 3, it's just so slow. But yeah, man, that's good, because I was curious if you were going to say something electronics wise. So like these were all gameplay oriented answers. Like are you I mean, you like pinball, but are you a gamer in any other sense? Do you like video games, PC games, anything? Sports?
I used to, not so much anymore.
Sports. He goes, sports?
Well, I have to remember people like sports, and sports are kind of games, so.
I don't know, maybe this just solidifies that I'm a Californian, but I play Ultimate Frisbee.
That's totally fine. That's such a cool game.
So we have fun with that a couple of times a week. So, but as far as gaming, I don't play that many video games anymore. Only have so much free time, and I would rather spend it with something that's physically happening. Again, I want to see things move in real life, not just on a screen.
Oh yeah, Nintendo Rami had a good idea. Do you remember the video game Donkey Kong on Super Nintendo, and then they jump in the barrels and then the barrels shoot them out to another barrel? So that making that onto a pinball machine, it goes into it and it shoots it across, kind of like the cannon, I guess, like Walking Dead cannon or something like that, but it has to make it into the other barrels.
Big Guns kind of shot it.
Yeah. There's a lot of games that have tried to throw balls into things with varying success, like Aerosmith and Houdini. It's really impressive when it works, but when it doesn't, it's just kind of a little like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand with the physical movement. I think that's why all of us love pinball, and that is really interesting to hear you say about programming. It's not exciting to program something that exists only on a screen, but something that you can interact with, and that's I think all of us can agree with that. It's a really neat. It's all of our favorite thing, and that's why I'm excited to learn to start to code a little bit here and there. I keep writing them down. I'm writing down all my ideas for light shows for the game that I want to make, and then the way that the lights will interact with things, and that's. I think I can manage that. I could probably make a grid of lamps and then start coding and seeing if I can get them to work the way I want them to.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll have to try
Or
it.
just build a team, Kyle. Like, I really liked Jake Danzig's, Jake's, his whole production process was very, like, micro industry wise, where most people making custom games, you kind of endure the whole project by yourself. Maybe you have an artist friend to kind of help you, or a coder friend, but he really was just like, he was the director and designer of Dukes of Hazzard, and then had his software engineers, his coders, his artists, and pretty much all the different department heads coming together to create that pinball machine. And I think that's why it looks so great and plays awesome and has amazing rules. So, Kyle, what I'm saying is you don't have to do it alone. You can build a team.
Every time I look into my wallet, it tells me that I can barely even afford to do it on my own. So if anyone wants to work
Which
for
is
free,
why if you have a theme that a whole team is behind, then it's collectively all of our wallets. So.
I'm interested in the chat here. A couple things are coming in. Adrian's talking about flowcharts. It sounds like we're surrounded by engineers right now, which is pretty
Writing
fun.
flowcharts really help map out thoughts on rules and operations prior to coding. That's a good tip.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely. In reproducing.
I'll just hand my flowchart to someone who will code my rules for me. Is what I'm thinking.
You can do that. You can do that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So I mean, that's one thing that Mission Pinball Framework actually tries to help out with, is that you're not required to do all the base level coding by yourself. There's a lot of ready-made features that you're just configuring rather than coding the whole thing. So like, if you want to have lane change lights at the top of a playfield or something, there's an example for that, and there's a tool for that, rather than you having to figure out, okay, when this happens, all of the lights need to move, and if they're lit and you hit them, it does one thing, and if they're not lit, it does another thing. That's all just kind of wrapped up in MPF. So it makes it much easier to code this kind of stuff, especially for something like an EM game. You can get up and running really quick with MPF if you're targeting an EM style rule set.
Sure. Yeah, it's just
awesome.
a few
That's
states
helpful.
that are switching.
That
here
makes
and
it
there.
less scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that is interesting.
JD on Facebook said, thanks for the stream, and an update on the Kickstarter. We'll be supporting. Oh yeah, it's a great Kickstarter. I thought he was asking for an update, but they said thank you for the update. Kyle, can you just walk over to your computer real quick and give me another TeamViewer code, because I got crashed.
Oh, you got kicked off of my computer? Yeah, here, hold on.
I did.
Sorry.
It's like you're hacking.
We have a very jank setup that we run this stream on that's worked so well that we should never change it, sort of a thing. So
it works good enough that we haven't changed it. Could be better.
it could be better. Here, let me send this to you securely so I don't dox.
Everybody gets on Kyle's computer with the TeamViewer code. Okay, thank you.
Right.
How does your controller handle sound? It's a question from the chat.
It doesn't. That is handled by the computer that is hosting MPF. So you just hook up your computer to whatever speakers that you want, and MPF actually drives the sound.
Yep.
So I did want to just prove out to people that this is not a back glass here. This is actually just MPF running. So I just have a desktop here that is running, and then when I'm ready to go, I just say MPF both, and that runs the media controller and MPF, and then picks off my image here and the scrolling segment displays. So not to scare anyone, but I did want to ask if people were interested in seeing, like, when you're developing code, like, how do you test it if you don't have a pinball machine? So I do have a little screen share that I can do here.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
I would love to see that.
We've got some time, and this is very
Yeah,
curiosity inducing.
The MPF is free, right? Mission
It is.
Pinball Framework.
Yes, it's free, and it ports a ton of different platforms. It's open source, so you can always make changes.
Nice.
Sorry, here, get this going here. All right, can you see that?
It says you start at screen share. Oh, there it goes. Yep. We are good.
Neat. So yeah, when I'm coding, right, this is an example of the code that is running on the screen behind me here. I'm just setting up this configuration file with different settings here, and won't go too much into detail there. But then once you have that written, you just come over here, and I'm going to run this, and this is my tag team game. I'm going to run it
Python
as a virtual game. So I'm not actually connecting to hardware with this, so that's what the -X is for. But it is going to run on my MPF monitor here. Let's move this out of the way here. So I have this mock playfield over here, and it has all my lights and it has all my switches just laid out on that playfield. And then I have all these status windows. So here in the top center, I have all the events that are scrolling through. MPF is an event-driven platform, so it's very useful to monitor what events are actually happening here. And right now, it's just going through the different slides. So here where it says press start and free play, it's monitoring those events. And then you can also see all the devices that are here. So like if I expand these lights, and these are probably way too small for you to read, but in any case, you can see the status of that stuff, and then I can actually come along and start a game on here by hitting the start button. Probably can't hear my audio here, which is good. Because it's
it's not coming through.
I don't actually want to. It's a little bit distracting to have the game audio playing. But so like, for example, on the playfield right now, I have a skill shot going to hit this, and so hit the right thing. So you can basically test out a game just by doing it on your screen here without actually having a physical game.
Manually triggering events to check the code that you have written, make sure everything matches up straight, yeah?
Yeah, and check and see. You can, monitor which, how many balls are on the playfield, all the different statuses, what modes are running. You write different modes, and you want to make sure that they turn on at a certain time if you qualify them. I actually helped somebody. Oh man, sorry, I totally forgot to mention one of the completed games. So there's a guy in Australia, and he makes custom machines for people, basically like promotional machines. So they have
cool.
They have a company, and they just want like 3 games for their company, and he makes them all themed for their purpose. So I helped him out with that, and he was one of the beta testers for the segment displays. So I think the website is like custompinball.au or something like that. But he's made a number of games, and one of them made it on Fox Sports in Australia. So that was pretty cool to see that, and he's working on quite a number of games, so it's been good to work with him as well.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
So his game is like a firepower plus type of feel to it. So it's similar to firepower, but then he's added a number of things there.
Firepower, but more.
Yeah. More firepower.
Yeah, perfect.
That's awesome.
That's neat. Yeah, it's I guess that's what I will do. That's what I'll take away from this. If I'm going to take the spirit of Crystal doing this show, which was to help her learn to try to make her own game, but now that she has an entire OEM behind her, whatever, I will go and try to start learning some Python.
Yeah.
It'll build upon my C and HTML knowledge that I learned when I was in high school a long time ago, but I don't remember any of it. But I think Python is a lot gentler, so I can give myself some homework.
So for Tag Team, I did not write any Python.
Really?
They call them YAML files, so yet another markup language, I think is what it stands for. But they're just configuration files. So basically with Tag Team, I am just configuring MPF to do what it already knows how to do.
Okay, interesting. Huh.
So it is like a light version of programming. Now in other games that I've worked on, yes, I have written custom Python, but because yes, MPF is based on Python. But I took an online course, and so now I'm better at Python.
There you go. Yeah, I think
Nice.
I personally I think I have a programming brain. I've just never used it or had I'd never put myself into that like area of working. So I would like to try to exercise that muscle a little bit. So in the past I've worked with the virtual pinball program. What's that called? I think just virtual pinball, right?
Virtual pinball.
Yeah, it's
Right?
building my own games, but it works
Visual
on like a
pinball?
system of
Visual
like
pinball. Yeah,
visual
you're right.
pinball.
Visual
Sorry,
pinball. Yeah,
visual,
yeah.
and it just works on a system of like really simple triggers and event states and stuff. And I don't know. I'd like to get a little bit further under the hood. So, but
I haven't dug into it that much, but there was somebody who was working on a bridge between visual pinball and MPF. So that you could take a visual pinball table, and I don't know if it was directly drive it from an actual table from visual pinball, or if it was a porting process or what. But yeah, there was a VPX bridge or something associated with MPF. So I don't know if anybody in the chat has dealt with that
That
at
would
all.
be
No.
awesome.
yeah, it's neat because I have my game like 70% built in visual pinball, so it'd be fun. I don't know. Anyways, that's cool.
What's your theme, Kyle?
I'm not saying. And it's not that good anyways, so it's not like you're missing out on anything. I'll tell you in Texas next week.
I can't wait a week. Yeah, speaking of Texas, anyone in the chat going to Houston Pinball and Arcade Show? Because we will be there next Thursday through Sunday.
And if not,
Be a
you
good
should.
time. It's Kyle's second favorite show, next to any show in California, because that's
There you
his
go.
home.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's true. That's actually, that's exactly the diplomatic answer I would give as well.
Yep. The guy who did Cuphead has done the VPX bridge. That was what Adrian said.
That's right.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah, a pinball repair themed pinball game. That's what everyone needs in their life.
That's a little bit too meta. We don't need that.
Hit the Novus.
The game actually can't end. Like, the game never ends.
Literally.
It breaks and you have to hit the ball to fix it and then it breaks.
It's like Sisyphus and his rock. That's what working on pinball games is like sometimes. Yeah, no, that'll be fun.
Awesome.
Maybe I don't know, there's not usually a big grouping of custom games in Texas, in Houston at least. I think there's a couple re-themes that show up, but not a lot of custom games that show up to the Houston show. But nonetheless, we'll carry our enthusiasm on over that way. So Yeah.
Oh yeah, Goat Simulator would be a cool pinball theme. I don't think that's what Eternal Grammy meant when they said I'll settle for Goat Simulator, but I'd like to see that theme.
Are you
That'd be
familiar
nice.
with that game, Thomas?
Oh, I'm not.
Goat
You're just a
Simulator.
goat, and you do crazy stuff. You run around the world and you lick stuff with your goat tongue, and it's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, physics-based games got really popular like 6 years ago, and that one was the most insane of all of them in a funny way. So
It's odd.
All right.
Sure. So, Thomas, Kyle won't tell us his custom theme that he's working on. Will you tell us yours?
I still can't decide mine.
Huh.
That's the
What are your
problem.
options? Let's help you decide.
Um,
Adrian will influence you.
well, yeah, I mean, I don't really want to share yet, but
Okay. No one wants to share.
definitely,
Okay.
one of them is a fighting game.
Mm,
Is a car chase game.
nice.
Ooh, that's
Yes.
fun. I like
I
that.
don't know. I just
I love the car pinball machines. I'm not like super into cars or car repair, or, F1 Formula racing like Kyle is, but all the car themed pinball games just play so fun.
and it just lends itself so well to like louts and sweet light shows and stuff. And I don't know. We'll see.
For sure.
We'll see.
It's the
We'll see what I
adrenaline
land
rush.
on. Yeah.
Good luck. We're excited to hear about it. Bob Niles says, "Oh, his theme is Tommy Boy." That's cool.
That's pretty good. Blues
I like
Brothers.
all the movie themes that are coming out in the homebrew section. So now we have Elf, Tommy Boy on the way, Billy Madison. I think I heard of a Happy Gilmore.
Trying to remember
All
them
these
well.
like old '90s movies that we grew up with. Is there a Die Hard pinball machine? 'Cause
There
that
should
happen.
be.
Should happen. I don't know of one.
Dang. Bob,
but-
nice. Oh, Elf is yours. Nice. That's awesome, Bob. We saw it at
Yeah.
Expo. Thanks
Played
for
it at
bringing-
Expo, and I
And
played it in
TPF.
Texas too.
Elf
It was
is,
set
yeah,
up.
Elf is made a great tour this year.
Yeah, it was set up right across from our booth at TPF this year, if also. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's fun. I
Oh,
think
Brian Soros is in here. He said Happy Gilmore. Yeah.
Nice.
There isn't a Die Hard yet. All right, y'all. All y'all awesome custom games in the chat. Die Hard Pinball.
Are you?
I'm just gonna name out themes and hope y'all make them because
2023. There's
I'm
going to be like
depending on you.
9 Die Hard.
Yeah.
That's actually really cool too. Yeah, there's 2 Pokemons, there's 2 League of Legends. Is this why y'all don't want to share what theme you're thinking of working on because you don't want anyone else to take that idea and run with it?
No.
Because I feel like if you
No.
say it out loud, then you're claiming it, and then by proxy, like de facto, we won't make that game. Like if you said right now, Thomas, you're making a Die Hard pinball, I'm not gonna make a Die Hard pinball. I'm gonna make a
Die Harder
Fight Club
pinball.
Oh,
Yeah.
there is a Fight Club
More
pinball.
more
Die
dying
yeah.
hard.
I'll do the Die Hard with a Vengeance because it has Samuel L. Jackson in that one.
There you go.
I no, you go first, Thomas.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I don't want to share it because, yeah, I don't think my themes stand well enough on their own. They need like the whole package for people to get them. So,
So you think if you say it, then people are gonna be like, "Ugh, why do you want to do that theme?" And then it
Yeah.
will discourage you, maybe from.
yeah,
Gotcha.
for the same reason why I didn't share my children's names before they were born, because it's like if you say it, people are like, "Oh, really?" And you're like, "Well, should I name
yeah.
them that? I don't know." And
Don't listen to the haters. They're gonna
well,
be
that's
out
why
there.
I
everywhere.
just don't
Yeah.
share it. And then like
That's true. Then you don't
once
have to
they're-
even worry
once
about
they're
it.
born, it's like this is their name. Deal with it.
This is reality now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mine is. I don't know. That's not close enough to my reasoning. It's just more that I don't want to share, not because it's good, but maybe just because
You want the surprise.
no, not even that. I just want to see it through more to see like if it'll make sense. It's not very exciting anyways. It's a band. But like my idea is like there's going to be a game there, but I definitely think like it's also kind of an art project at the same time. Well, we'll see. I just need to see if it
that's
jives
fine.
together.
It's okay. It's a band. Dai Kaiju was probably one of the greatest games at Pinball Expo on the entire show floor, and that's like a Cali surfer stoner rock band.
Yeah, no, that was a great
that's
game.
Dai Kaiju, but the gameplay was just so much fun. You're hitting that
Oh.
pop bumper by the flippers and flinging up, and you need a nudge, and
I have
it's exciting.
I have feelings on music games, and sometimes like some games fit. Sometimes like the action in games fit the band that they're tied to better than others. And the band that I am choosing is maybe not the most action-packed sort of a thing, so I want to try to figure out how to make that work before I say something about it, right? Like, because I'm trying to make a game that ticks all the boxes that I want. Well, and it's also a single-level game, so we'll see.
Be honest, is it Celine Dion?
It's Enya. No.
That would be.
Actually, it would be
Celine
really
Dion
cool.
Pinball.
In all honesty, Enya's
Dang.
great. I don't know. Now the chat's like going crazy because we're talking about opinions.
A
So.
Yanni pinball machine would actually be pretty exciting. Its music's very underrated.
I suppose so.
Yeah. Don't worry, Kyle. We will like it.
No, you won't.
That's from Jimmy.
Don't sugarcoat it. It'll suck. Well, no, that's it. I guess what is your idea in like design work too? Like, do you want to do
NG pinball.
something simple? Do you want to have something relatively complex? Is it like, what and like when you think about your first physical layout, like what is the sky the limit, or are you trying to stay grounded?
No, so I want to stay grounded for the first one. So, and I think it's actually a particular challenge to stay single level and make it a fun game.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do with my first game.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'll just straight up and say it. TNA is really inspiring to me. What Scott did and how the action that he created with his music and also with the interaction with the pinball really syncs super well, right? And
Yeah.
and also while adding the added benefit or challenge, like you said, of it being a single level game. There's not a lot of ways to stall the ball with travel. So, all right, that's interesting.
Yeah, I love the whole like TNA themed games. I don't know if you people get offended by calling that, but TNA is so great. But like Joel Kaiser's Boys Night Out, it gave me definitely a TNA feel, which was awesome. And then Dai Kaiju too, the one that I was drawn to this year at Expo. It also has that single level TNA feel.
The simplicity of a
And
single
Meant
level
to be a
game.
compliment.
I mean, the other side of it is I am kind of going down this segment display route. So I'm trying to get a little bit more retro feel, and I would like to draw that into the play field as well. So
Nice.
trying to maintain a single level and not get too fancy, but I think you can still spice up a single level quite a bit,
Yes.
as we've already seen with some of these games. So.
Absolutely, yeah. But with music and lighting effects that were not possible in the 1970s, when a lot of those single level games were being made, there's lots you can achieve still, I think, with that kind of stuff. So, all right, that's
For
cool.
sure.
That's inspiring.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us today, Thomas, and teaching us all about the CobraPin Pinball Controller and all the other products you have. I dropped a link in the chat again for everyone. If you missed the first half of the stream, as soon as we stop being live, you can watch the archive. on Facebook or YouTube.
As soon as we
the whole
stop,
front half, we're talking about the CobraPin products, and then now we're just geeking out about custom pinball machines.
yeah.
Perfectly great too.
Giving a little bit of nerdiness to the audience here. Facebook user, no name, but aside from Dukes of Hazzard, Silver Slugger's favorite single-level game. Needs to be a better theme and more code, but yeah, Silver Slugger's got a great layout. I mean, and that's like, you know, looking at what Thomas has there too, like Tag Team. A lot of those street-level, single-level Gottlieb games were just incredible. They just suffered from, well, I think they suffer from like apathy of pinball nerds. Like no one likes those games. They always thought that they were just garbage because why would you want to play that when you could play the Addams Family or something, right? And now people are going back and realizing like, oh, a lot of this stuff's like really incredible, albeit a bit shallow, but you know.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I noticed when I started, you know, working on the rules.
Oh, it's Jake.
When I working on the rules for Tag Team was, you know, I just bought that playfield because it was cheap and somebody was getting rid of it, and I was like, oh, you know, I'll just use that and then I'll get rid of it once I'm done learning. Basically, I was just buying it as a learning thing.
Yeah.
And then once I started adding all the code and you know, expanding the rule set and the light shows and everything. And I was playing it. I was like, man, this is a really fun game. Like, I actually, I'm gonna keep this.
Yeah, it's a fun game. I mean, a lot of those. I mean, like Hoops. Everyone loves Hoops. Hoops is really cool. I mean, the what's that game called? The boxing one. You know, the Gottlieb boxing one with the box.
Champion Pub.
Champ Pub.
No, the Gottlieb one with the boxers in the back. Title Fight. Title Fight's a great game. Deadly Weapon's a great game. A lot of those single level ones are really, really fun.
Black Belt? Was Black Belt single level?
No, Black Belt had a ramp. That's a silly game.
Oh. It's a silly game.
It is a silly game.
You just reminded me.
Oh, Jake Danzig. Hello. Welcome to the show.
Meteor. Oh, yeah. Jimmy's obsessed with Meteor.
Oh, that's a great. I mean,
I need to buy one at one day. Yeah.
Everyone knows. I like the old
the
stuff.
The sound gives me anxiety. It's a great game. It's just like, it gets your heart beating so fast with that.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. That game does everything right.
I feel like my heart's going to pop every time I play it.
The bonus countdown is incredible. You know, I love it when you have like your bonus maxed out and you have all your rockets filled up and you could just walk away and go pour a beer and the thing's still counting down your bonus and it makes you feel like a champion, right?
Right.
Like that's the things like those are things that I like in modern pinball games that you see from like some of the more old school designers, but also from the new school stuff too. Like getting that bonus countdown on Deadpool is just awesome when it goes forever, you know. And then you've got also things like Iron Maiden too, right? Iron Maiden, that bonus countdown can just take forever and it just makes you feel so good. I don't know. There's something about those. And that's the magic of coding and choreography with the player, right? So anyways, now I'm starting to nerd out. I can just talk forever, but it's almost 5, so.
It's time. So for everyone on Twitch, stick around. We're going to look for someone to raid in the pinball category.
Oh, Break Shot. Yes, Jim's Arcade. Break Shot is one of my favorite games of all time. I want a Break Shot so dang bad. If any of you have a Break Shot to sell me.
No, sell it to me.
Emoto doesn't want
I'll
Break
pay 15% more than what Kyle will pay.
Crap. I can't afford to buy pinball games anymore anyways. I have to make my own.
And then I'll trade it for you for your baby Pac-Man and TNA combo.
I don't know if I could let both of those go.
No one's going to ever take that deal. There's virtual pinball going on.
We got to stay real. We're talking about building pinball games now and the physicality of our favorite game. We can't go and stream virtual pinball.
I know. Where's Mystery Pinball Theater?
We'll give him another couple minutes.
MPT3K. Are we too early for him? I'm going to text him and be like, Manu, where you at? We need some real pinball up in here. We'll see.
Oh man.
Nothing yet.
Okay, I can give a little bit of pinball advice. Spunky asks, Spunky1562, any advice on removing art blades to get the back box hinge bolt for powder coating? I assume you're talking about a modern Stern game. The modern Stern games do, on the pinball wallpaper, the art blades, they have like a little circular bit that's cut out that you can punch out and pull it off, and you can get to the bolt at that point. It does remove like a small section of the art, but most people never notice it. If you're not talking about a modern Stern game, or you're talking about like aftermarket art blades, good luck. You have to cut a hole or something, because I don't think a lot of them actually do make those holes for you to remove things. So, C&K wants us to just keep streaming. You know, I'd love to, but I'm tired. I'm ready to go and relax. What does the rest of the day have in store for you, Thomas? Are you going to work? Are you going to enjoy an afternoon off?
Unfortunately, no. I'm going to go back to work.
Oh, that sounds terrible. I'm sorry. No, you get to work with robots, actually. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Tired of streaming. No, I'm just exhausted as a whole. Overall, I'm constantly exhausted. Today, especially. I actually stayed up late last night building my new computer. So I am working along doing that. And then Emoto and I are going to Houston next week, so I should try to catch some shut-eye while I can, because I probably won't be sleeping a lot there.
That's what I'm prepping for now. So.
Yeah.
Manu's not going live. He had to work too. See, we're all just working. So we're going to show some love to some virtual pinball today.
All right, that's fine. Maybe next stream we will stream for a little bit longer once I get back from Texas.
This person is streaming. It looks like a Pengu pinball type Wordle solitaire retro games.
That sounds cursed. Yeah, we didn't work on anything
so
today. We just talked to Thomas about the CobraPin Pinball Controller, but we'll probably work on Baywatch next time I get back in here. It'll be done soon. And then we'll start working on Elvira and the Party Monsters. So.
Yay. And next week we will be actually setting up at Houston Arcade Expo, so maybe I will have it live there for a little bit as we do. But we are a very small team, so it may not happen. We'll keep you all posted.
Yep. If
we go live. This rating thing's just not...
All right, today we're not rating. It sounds like the cards are stacked against us, and they were stacked against us when we started today too, so we shouldn't fight it too hard.
Yeah, I think that's good. All right, well...
All right, thank you, Internet. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for everything.
We're going to go to bunnies, rating the bunnies. All right, see y'all later. Thank you, Thomas.
Bye, thank you.
Bye. And it's ready to raid. 10, 9, 8, 7.
All right, enjoy the bunnies. They're really cute.
The cutest bunnies.
Your blood pressure is about to dump. It's great.